Welcome everybody to our first Roundtable series. D1 Softball and the NCAA have put together a series of old games. So we're going into the NCAA Vault. And our first of many is the 1992 championship game between Arizona and UCLA. So first, before we start the game, we're going to go around and everyone's going to introduce themselves. So we'll start with Kirk Walker.
Hi, I'm Kirk Walker, and I was an assistant coach actually in that 92 championships and had the great fortune to coach all of these athletes at some point during their careers.
Amy?
Hi, I'm Amy Chelovold, now Amy Hillenbrand. I played 92 through 95 at Arizona and was an assistant coach for several years afterwards. And I did play for Kirk when I was in the women's league for the California Commotion. So that was when we're all friends here. So nice to see everybody and catch up.
Great. Nicole?
I'm Nicole Pinedo. I was Nicole Victoria when I played 91 through 95. And I actually played against Jamie and Amy in high school because we were in the same league together. So that continued in college, and then also played for Kirk in travel ball and beyond when I was younger, and then obviously with Amy too when we went to the California Commotion. So
Great. Jamie?
Hi, my name is Jamie Hagan. I played for U of A center field 91 through 93. My first run-in with Kirk was on the 12 and under club softball team, the Shilohs. So we go way back.
I remember the Shilohs.
Kathy?
Kathy Evans. I was a center fielder from 92 to 95, and Kirko was my coach 92, 93, and then 94 hit, and he left us. So that was unfortunate. He was my hitting coach.
Sorry, did you say me?
Debbie, yes.
Sorry, I'm Debbie Day. I pitched for Arizona in 1991 and 92. I am the grandma of this group, apparently, because I was a senior. I've known Kirk since I started playing travel ball. I always say the person who's thrown me the most batting practice in my life is Kirk Walker, because I was a Shiloh my entire travel ball career, which is rare these days. And he's always been the best.
Oh.
All right, so we're going to get the game started, and
Forgot me.
you're going to lead this off for us.
You forgot me.
Oh, Christy! We were going to wait. Christy, go on.
Is that all right? Okay. I'm Christy Schrader. I used to be Christy Howard, and I played between 90 and 93. Kirk was one of our coaches throughout that entire time. And of course, yes, he pitched batting practice, hit balls, cheered with us in the dugout, and was the total energy provider for our team. So yeah, so I'm excited to be on this call.
Great. Thank you all for being here. All right, here we go.
With that spotless 28-0 record facing Amy Chelovold, who scored the winning run against Kansas in the 17th inning.
Look at that, Amy Chelovold.
Amy didn't take any time there, huh? Setting the tempo here. Obviously, this is the. Oh, here's Jamie.
Jamie! Here's my highlight. That's what the number 2 batter does right there, right?
That's right.
You
Well
did
done.
a job.
if you do what you're supposed to, that's what the number 2 batter does.
Yeah.
Spoken like a
Are you
coach.
foreshadowing?
Yeah.
Again, to lay the groundwork here a little bit, this is the 92 championships, and the year before was the first championship that Arizona ever won in 91. And that broke a string of 3 consecutive that UCLA had won. So this was a pretty epic game here coming back.
And
Laura
the white
Espinosa.
The beast, Laura Espinosa.
I definitely had sweaty palms at this moment. With Amy on second and Laura up to bat, I had sweaty palms. I was definitely
Right. And Amy Chelovold on second base, right?
right. Fastest runner, yeah.
Interesting enough, the Pac-10 championship, I think they talk about it on here, was won by Arizona although they were head-to-head 2-2. I don't know if you guys remember, April 29th to May 4th was the LA riots, the Rodney King. And we weren't able to, UCLA wasn't able to play that weekend. And we ended up losing the championship earlier in this year because we were one game short of a win. So again, there was a lot riding on this game, but the head-to-head was 2-2 that season. Pretty amazing.
Those were your guys' only losses all season, right? Were the two conference games for us?
Yeah, we lost you guys twice. Yep.
Yeah.
You're 4-2. That I remember.
Oh boy, look how young he looks.
I know. Back to PI. Look at him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's great.
That's pretty fun.
And then the white ball. I mean, like, imagine how many home runs Laura would have had with the yellow ball that year.
Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking about that with everybody. That ball just made a huge difference. Look at Yvonne Gutierrez. I mean, she would have just had so many home runs.
Sheila.
Right. This was Laura's freshman year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So she obviously got the chance. I think the next year is when the yellow ball goes in.
Correct.
Mhm.
True.
Yeah.
Now, was this year 40 feet or was this 43?
It was still 43 feet here. Yeah.
How hard was that as an adjustment as a pitcher, Debbie, to change from 43 to 40?
I mean, back then, everything else was 40. High school was still 40 and everything. So it was an adjustment. I thought it was for the best as a pitcher because it gave me more movement in my mind. At least that's what I kept telling myself. You know, pitchers were mental cases.
Well, you definitely had a lot of movement. So.
Oh, thanks. I love watching Jody hit. Just
oh my gosh.
such a great catcher, such fun to throw to.
She was so intense. That's what I remember.
Intense.
Yes.
She still is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you always had to
Change up.
That's a
Wow.
deadly pitch.
that. Yeah,
I'm so glad I
Change
didn't.
up.
it's wicked. It's wicked.
Does anyone else throw that? Can anyone throw that?
I know Amanda Freed used to throw that, I think, kind of similarly.
There's a few that throw a variation on it, but not too many that throw it quite like that. But
Yeah.
I'm surprised her arm, she never had arm problems with that. That is crazy.
And because she had 6 different solid pitches, no one pitch wore her out.
I wish I was that small still.
Oh,
How cute
Think
she
of the
was.
same.
oh, small and like faster than fast. You're saying we're all crowding. We know exactly what you're going to do, and you still can't get her to go out. It was impossible.
Yeah, well, 3 of you, between Jamie, Amy, and Kathy, you guys all kind of owned that short game in many ways.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like it is today because not many
Stop.
people did it back then. There were only a handful of us that did it well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was definitely the first set of players that were like slappers, bunners, like, I don't remember.
And the slap was a slow slap. Kirk,
Yeah.
why do you think it's changed into a running hard hit now?
Well, I think that, this was one of the questions I had, but the technology, obviously the yellow ball and the technology of the bats, it's much more of a location than it is a contact slap. But there's a few that still do it. But I think just with technology, more people are learning how to just put more velocity on the ball.
Amy, I'm curious, since we're on the subject, remember when we switched to the yellow ball? That was a big adjustment, right? I mean, you really had to ease up on the bat when hitting. Was that an adjustment for you?
A little bit, but I always hit it right off the top of my hands. I usually tried to get the ball like right above I would never want to hit it on the sweet spot. So I tried to hit it between the barrel and my hands.
Right. The end of the bat.
Inside out, like cut.
Yeah, I found myself having to kind of ease up on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Kirko, I don't know if you remember that, but you're the one that worked with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, another thing that I'm noticing here, what about the hair?
Oh,
Stop it.
The bangs in
Hey,
particular.
Debbie.
We all had bangs and a perm.
Yes.
Terms were good.
One thing I noticed here, there was quite a few of the helmets that were worn with the bangs still showing and the helmet was tucked back. So
Tucked back, yeah.
Well, there's a player on Arizona's team. I forgot her name, but she'll come up with the red hair.
The guy.
It was like way back here, and the bangs were like, it was awesome.
I know Kelly Inouye used to wear her bangs super high, and she used to always say, "Hi, my name's Kelly I, and I wear my bangs real high." That was one of her sayings because that's what she did. That's what we all did.
right.
Funny.
Speaking of,
We were a team. Yeah, we were a team of French braids. We all did each other's hair pretty much. 90% of us, I'd say, had always had a French braid.
Oh, double play. I hated that play.
Debbie's
Yeah,
defense. Yeah. Amazing.
Well, this game's going pretty well so far.
Yeah, right. It goes well for about 7 innings, right?
6.5.
Oh,
So,
Okay.
on the 7th comes up. So
looking here at the stadium, obviously this was the
Gosh.
third year of the championships. Obviously 90 was the first, 91 you guys won it, and then 92 was the third year at Oklahoma City.
mhm.
No,
it's
the
clean.
differences in the stadium from then than
Oh my
today, it's just amazing. Even the
Yeah.
field, I remember, the field was not that nice to play on.
No.
Well, wasn't it? It was rumored. I don't know with any truth to it, but the dirt was like taken from the horse track down the street or something because it was. I remember hearing that rumor. Yeah.
Oh, here's Susie Parra. Now, was this Susie Parra's freshman year as well? What year was she?
Sophomore.
Freshman.
She was a freshman in 91.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, sophomore.
Yeah, so she was a
So now, you never see shorts anymore. We were like the only team to wear the pants. And now
Yeah.
everybody's gone to pants.
I mean, we may as well have been wearing pants because we only have this much of our legs showing between the kneecaps. And so I was like, why are we wearing shorts? What's the point?
I'm cracking up at how big all the uniforms are on us. We could fit 2 of us in.
I know.
You know, like, why so big? The clothing is big, and I don't understand it.
Especially compared to today's skin tight everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Just the technology with materials, though. Everything was much heavier, and you had to
Mhm.
wear it so it didn't get.
Just think how much faster we could have been.
Right.
In those
Really
college
was.
uniforms, there was no moisture wicking at all
No,
whatsoever.
No.
It was like so hot, and we would like think we were tough and wear our sleeves because
Those were like real t-shirts we wore underneath,
Right.
not like Under Armours.
Right.
yeah,
And
they were hot.
I think my jersey went all the way down to my knees when I had to like tuck it in. And, it's massive.
Who? I'm curious to know who on the Arizona team. Who were the jokesters on the team? Who in the dugout was the one that was always playing the pranks and keeping everyone
Oh
loose?
my God.
Redondo.
Yeah.
We were a pretty light group. I mean, we like to laugh and joke and have the stupid cheers that we didn't care if anybody really heard or not. We kind of had all our own inside jokes, and it's one of the beauties of Arizona softball and culture is we're pretty light.
Yeah, definitely a relaxed atmosphere to play instead of the hard, intense, serious, look in the dugout. It was more of a relaxed, having fun type dugout.
That's great. That's great.
That's weird. Just kidding.
And on the UCLA side,
What's that?
Kathy, who on the team do you remember back, or Christy, who do you remember being the pranksters or the jokesters on the team?
I know JoJo was pretty funny at times. I mean, Nicole was always cracking jokes and kind of, what?
Getting in trouble.
Lisa did too, though. There was part of Lisa that would kind of get goofy at times. I thought she was funny.
Lisa to this day is still the most competitive person I've ever met. Like one time we were just relaxing. We were on the national team together and we were playing Uno or something. And she was back talking and she was yelling at me. I'm like, I don't want to play with you. I want to relax. She's like super, I'm going to win.
Yeah, I take that back. Like during the games, Lisa was not the jokester in the dugout.
No.
She could be
No.
off the field, but definitely not on the field.
No.
Yeah, off the field more so.
Off the field, not on the field.
Well, I'll tell you from my experience, the 2 people on the screen right now are the 2 most intense pitchers I've ever been around, and that's Fernandez. And
Thanks.
and actually I, got to be Debbie's teammate actually not too long ago, and we won a national championship together. But and I coached Lisa well into her career. So two of the most intense pitchers I've ever been around, for sure.
Yeah, I think probably Debbie, that year was definitely stepping in the box in that first inning. I'd probably never been so scared.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Going up against you.
Mean. She mean? What's she like? Because you had such a scowl, like a game face. I'm like, no, she's super nice.
I don't know about that, but
No, you don't make an error behind her. She's great, right?
Oh, you just look so intense. You look like you were like going to kill me.
I think
I guess I've been called worse, right?
no.
I mean, talk about
was
intense. Try pitching to Yvonne Gutierrez.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
That would be scary.
Speed, power.
Right. The interesting thing about Yvonne, obviously, who's now a firefighter, who we think is that's amazing,
Really?
not far from UCLA, and she's a captain and doing great. But an interesting thing about her is that she was really intimidated and afraid of the inside pitch.
Funny.
If people
Now you
knew
tell
how-
me.
if people knew
Right.
how fearful she was. I mean, it's kind of funny. But you guys were attacking her inside quite a bit there. But
She fouled. I think later in the game, she fouls off like 5 or 6 in a row.
Yeah.
She was such a tough out.
Yeah, no, she took hacks like I've never seen before. When I talk about hitting, I always bring up Yvonne, or Bon Bon as we called her.
Bon Bon.
She just crushed balls, and her swing, I've never seen so much power going through the zone. But very, very impressive player, and just a great person too. She was one of those people that looked so tough on the outside, but a little teddy bear in the inside.
Try playing first base against her.
I would be
You got to play in because she can bunt.
Right?
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think they were talking about her being the second fastest on our team that year. So that's
Yeah,
Wow.
that was interesting. Who on your team do you guys remember being the clutch player for you guys? The one that, like, man, they always came through with the big hit.
Gosh.
Was a lot. I mean,
Probably.
I mean, you could always count on Amy and Jamie at the top. They were going to get on. And then we had such good hitting after them between Jody and Laura Espinosa and Susie Parra that if they got on, or, they got on a lot, we were bound to get them in with those hitters behind them.
Yeah.
I remember never feeling comfortable. Like, it was like, whoo, she's done. It's like, oh man, who's next? You know what I mean?
yeah.
You guys were so good.
Yeah, the funny thing about Arizona, the slappers and their speed was just deadly. And so every time we played them, we knew, oh gosh, yeah, we had to be on with our defense. And, even them trying to steal and put pressure on our team the entire time. I mean, there wasn't a team out there who did that. And they did it so well. And so that's why they were so tough, because if you made a mistake, boom, they're going to score.
Yeah.
You would know that being the shortstop.
I think even
They put me
there was 3 or 4 steal attempts. I think that it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What about on the Arizona side? What were some of the intimidating things playing against UCLA, or things that stood out to you?
The power from everyone. I mean, Kathy set the table, just like Arizona and Amy setting the table. It was the power that you could never let up. The pitchers, the intensity that I would think that Debbie and Susie had to have throughout that season to like, you can't let up on any single batter at any single time. It was, I thought.
And I think, like, with Lisa, I mean, you can really, when she's pitching, you can't really have a game plan, because she'll change it every game. So like one game she'll be, like going up, and then the next game she'll go down. And so she never had like an MO, if you will. She always changed the game plan. So you never knew what you were gonna get.
Her and Kelly oh my gosh, they worked so well together. And it was like they had like one mind, I swear. And with their pitches, Kelly pitch calling and stuff, and like it was crazy. It was great. It was so just so much fun to play behind them and see them work together, and just how well they did. I mean, obviously they had been playing together for so long, but growing up, but that's one of the coolest things, was playing behind them and seeing the way that they work together.
It's funny you say that, because it's one of the big ways I think the game has changed now. You see both catchers calling the game, both pitchers able to shake something off, and the ability for the players to really research and know those hitters. I mean, I knew those hitters pitch to pitch. I remembered what they hit, where it was, what the count was, all that kind of stuff, because you couldn't make a mistake against a UCLA lineup. But I felt the same as you just described with Jody. We thought alike. We had the same sense of where we wanted to go and what we did. And it's nice to go back and watch this game, and for now anyway, and see that we are, these two teams really were so similar.
Yeah.
That was an amazing bunt that Amy just laid down there.
It was amazing.
For her second hit.
That really wasn't amazing.
2 for 2.
Yeah.
No problem.
The one thing I did notice with the slappers too, they're not stepping in front of the plate. I know that's been a big thing. They're staying on line. Now they're getting out of the box.
So they're out of the box. They're definitely, I don't know if Amy just did, but the one before.
But they're not in front of the plate. So
No box. There was no box back then, was
No
there?
box, right? There's no
It
box.
was there, but it was in theory.
Well, you guys, Amy, you could tell us because you're the first batter, but you guys would go and you would like wipe off the line, right?
Yeah, you could do that.
Back then. Can you do that now? I don't think you can do that now, can you?
No.
Not anymore.
You want a line?
The
Watch
strike
this.
on the batter if you wipe the line.
But in reality, the whole goal of it was to step on the line when you're making contact. So you're not technically, and you can be over the line as long as, your heel hits any part of the line, then you're good. So
Yes. Now, I thought if any part of your foot crossed the line, you're out. Oh.
Well, that's the rule now.
that's the rule now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They've changed the rules.
Yeah.
Is it called the slapper rule?
You slappers, no more.
Called the Amy Chellavold rule.
Look at that bat, the black man.
I was just going to say, can we talk about the logs we used to swing?
No kidding.
Right.
How heavy were they? I can't even remember, but
Heavy.
compared to now,
Yeah.
it's like swinging a feather now.
They were
On a super
25
heavy.
to 26 ounces,
26, yeah.
Oh, and what are they now?
like 23,
22,
24.
23.
Oh,
Well, actually quite a few. Most of them are using a -10 or -9
Yeah.
level. So it's a 34, 24, or 34-25 is probably the most common. And those that do use a 33, it's probably a 33-24.
20. Well, yeah, 20.
And ours was like, what, -8?
Yeah, they were more -8, -8, -10 in that range, or -8, -9. Yeah,
Yeah. The big bottle.
And no technology.
but the technology was vastly different. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So what's Sharon doing these days? She's just, I haven't heard anything about her.
Sharon's living down in same place in Fullerton, and we see her occasionally. She comes out to some events.
That's
And,
great.
She was at the celebration for the championship this past year, so she's doing well.
Good.
Yeah, Sharon, she was a great coach. She was very intense, but very quiet at the same time. She was fun to play for. I really enjoyed Sharon. I got along great with her. She was a great
You were her
mentor.
favorite.
Well, she was a great mentor to me because she was a shortstop. We had that in common. So, but yeah, so that was a lot of fun for me to be able to play for somebody with such a great history in the game. And but yeah, she was really a special person and special coach.
Yeah.
Agree.
Nicole, feeding off that, any special memories with Sharon or funny stories about Sharon?
Oh my. I know. I remember one time when I hit a foul ball and it hit her.
Oh.
And it wasn't a soft foul ball, and she would always get on me about pulling the ball, and then of course I pull one and I hit her.
Oh.
So that was kind of like the running joke is that I left my mark with her and she's never going to forget me now. So,
Never lived it down.
no, I mean, obviously, I really feel fortunate to have played for, the best coaches I feel in the game, and probably just like you guys feel with Candrea, you know. But it was, you know, Sharon was tough. She was, you know, she'd get on you, but then, you know, she'd also give you that kind of little side smile to let you know that you're all right and you're going to be okay. And so, and then Sue was always, you know, was always the one backing her up and kind of the energy pill behind everything, which was really fun. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously now I feel so fortunate to have played for them. I wish I felt the appreciation back then that I feel today, but obviously that probably comes with maturity. But no, I mean, obviously, you know, all three of, you know, the coaches had such a huge impact on my life. And, you know, even, you know, Kelly I with, because Kelly I was stuck around after she was done playing, and she was the grad assistant and assistant. And so, you know, Kelly I stayed when I was one of my teammates, and then was one of my coaches, and actually is the one that taught me how to catch. So I don't know, there's just been, it's just such a great feeling to be a part of all that, you know. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way, just the whole pride of being a part of Arizona softball. It's like there's so much pride being a part of UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nicole, how many different positions did you play? You were
Oh.
you were second, third catcher. Did you ever play outfield?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny you asked that, because I totally forgot what position I played in this game. But my freshman year I played outfield, and then my sophomore year, which is this year, the championship year, I played second base, and then my junior year I played third base when Lisa was pitching, and I played first base when Lisa was not pitching. And then my senior year, I was the third baseman, but because Lisa was gone, but our catcher broke her finger at the very beginning of the season, and I became the catcher.
Oh gosh.
So, and that's why Kelly had to teach me how to catch, because I hadn't caught. So, but Dee Dee Wyman was our pitcher, and we were really good friends, and I would go out and just catch in the fall for her, just because we were always together. And so I guess that's kind of how I ended up being the catcher.
Did you ever ask if you could play the other positions just so you could go down in history? Like I totally would have. I'd be like, Sharon, can I just pitch one inning or one batter? Come on, like let me go down in history of playing every single position.
No, well, you know what's so funny is I was a shortstop. Growing up,
Right.
I was always a shortstop. And then the one position that I probably, besides pitching, that I did not play in college was shortstop. So, but you know, it all worked out. I mean, it was great. I mean, it really, honestly, it helped me, because I was able to, you know, obviously use that later on in life when, you know, coaching and stuff like that. So worked out for me.
That's awesome. For Arizona, playing for Coach Candrea, this was, I think, like his 6th or 7th year, maybe? No, maybe more than that, 9th year. What were some of your highlights of playing for Coach Candrea, and kind of what you appreciate now more than then?
Gosh, there's so many things. I think it's more like just the family atmosphere he creates, and the things that he instills in his players. It's kind of the father away from home, because everybody at this point was from California or Arizona, Tucson, Phoenix, and California. And I don't know, just a lot of things. It's just a special group to be a part of.
How about any sayings? I know that we used to call them Sharonisms at UCLA. Sharon would have make up words, and she would combine words and make up words.
Oh my gosh, Coach was superstitious.
The most superstitious man I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
So,
Using the same tape and
do you want
driving
to
the same routes.
In 1991, our seniors made a highlight video and busted it out and showed us before our regional games. And we had an ice cream cake. So we gathered in someone's house, watched the video, maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 minutes long, watched the video, and had an ice cream cake that probably said like "Go Cats" or something like that. And we ended up winning. So guess what we did every single game. But every time we all gathered in a room, whether it was in Tucson at the time, the regionals, or I think that was ASU, we played ASU. We had to gather in the hotel room, watch the video, have ice cream cake. I think we even did it at like a 9 a.m. game or something like that in Oklahoma. We all gathered, watched it. We must have watched the video, I don't know, 10 times, you know, in 2 weeks, and had ice cream cake. Whether you ate it or not, you had to cut it up and take a piece. And yeah, it was his superstition. He took the same exact route to
We
and
got
from.
lost on the way 91, not really lost, but we took a wrong turn going to the game in 91 and we won. So every time after that, this was at the World Series, every time we went to the field after that, we had to make that wrong turn and then correct. And then
Oh
get
my
to the
gosh,
field.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
When we
But
won the game, we'd keep the same tape on the lineup and, you know, all that good stuff. The thing I always say about Coach when people ask me about him is he's very professional but caring. Like, he treated us like adults, but was still there, you know, as a kind of father figure. But the thing I always remember is he made me believe I was better than I really was. And because of that, I became better than I ever thought I could be. And that's just, I think everyone who plays for him would say that. He knew I could get the job done. He knew, you know, every player that he had, he believed in so much. And I still see that in him today. And as a coach, you know, that's really amazing to have somebody else believe in you that much.
Yeah.
And
During
You're
this,
pretty good. You to believe in you when you're really good.
I would
during
say,
this World Series,
Kirkle, you're a lot like that too, by the way. Since we're on the subject, you're very much the same way. Making people believe that you're better than you are, and really, you made us want to like work harder, get better, because we. I don't know.
Well, I
so
think
you were talking about Sharonisms, and one of the things I remember just really quick about this World Series is when Debbie didn't pitch, she would play first and I would DH. And so like this was my first year at Arizona, and like Coach didn't have much to do with me because I was a slapper, and then Larry worked with the infield. Larry Ray was our assistant coach. And so we're playing Fresno State, and there's 0 outs and they have bases loaded. Debbie's playing first, Susie's pitching. We get out of it. And he turns to me and he goes, "You couldn't stick a pin up my ass right now." And I didn't know how to react. I didn't know if I was supposed to laugh or what.
That's pretty good.
He could never be mic'd in the dugout, trust me. It was like, I didn't know what to do because here I'm like, oh.
I love it. I remember one time, Coach, I thought he was a very good motivator, and to second what Debbie was saying, I mean, here I was coming in. I didn't get recruited in high school. I went to a junior college, and all of a sudden I go to Arizona and I'm playing, I'm a player and a contributor on a national championship team. And he that was all him. That was all him. And I told my mom before my very first game I ever played, she came over to the dugout and I said, "Mom, I don't think I belong here. I don't think I belong here." And he called a timeout right before I went to bat. And he said, "You got this. You got this. Just go out and have fun and do what you do." And I hit a home run my very first at bat. And it was like, okay, I've got his approval. I do belong here. And it made all the difference in the world. He was a fantastic motivator, and he, above anyone else, he knew you could do it. And that just elevated my game for sure, 100%.
that's awesome.
Amazing.
Great stories. Well, you look at this game, and I think you look at the Hall of Fame coaches that are, and the Hall of Fame people that are in this game and that are coaching this game and are part of this game. It's really pretty amazing. You know, you got Kelly Inouye right there we're seeing. And obviously, we haven't talked about Sue Inquest yet. So I would love to hear some stories. I know some of the stories, but I'd love for you guys to share some stories about Sue and your thoughts on Sue on either side. Obviously, you guys played against her as an opposing coach, and obviously these guys played for her.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could talk. For me, so Sharon was sort of like the quiet thunder, right? So Sharon being at third gave us the she told us whether I was going to bunt or slap and gave us the signs. And then I'd always, before I stepped in the box, turn and look at Sue, and she'd, come on. And she was kind of like the cheerleader. So she was the one that like was definitely the motivator. And from a defensive standpoint, and I played for, one of the best travel teams in the country, go Panthers. But what I learned at UCLA was what Sue taught me as an outfielder, that for every one step an outfielder takes, the runner gets two. And so I learned how to become a much better outfielder with Sue. And then, as you know, Kirko, you helped me with my hitting. But Sue was fantastic. She was my cheerleader and my motivator.
Yeah, Sue, Sue was so intense. I'm a competitor, but Sue was so intense. I had to learn kind of how to handle her intensity, because she'd get up in your face and really, whatever it took to try to get you to be motivated, she was there doing it. And she showed lots of love too. And she knew the game, and she was always trying to learn more about the game. She definitely had some huge growth throughout her entire coaching career, and just such an impressive person. And here's something about Sue. She was phenomenal, but she came and spoke to she presented me with my scholarship at my high school. And, my counselor, I had decent grades, but it wasn't necessarily maybe UCLA grades at the time, what you would think a 4.0 or whatever. My counselor was like, you're going to UCLA. When Sue was done at my banquet, everybody was up on their feet, howling and clapping. And it was amazing. I felt like I just won the national title right there. And she's just one impressive person. And I feel super lucky to have been able to play for her and Sharon and Kirko. But yeah, the history at UCLA and what all those three coaches brought to the program is,
Speaking of Sue, I think her ears were burning.
Oh, hey!
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 That's
Hi, everybody!
Hi.
How are you?
Oh my goodness, it's so great to see all of you.
Oh, there she is.
That's crazy.
Hi. Oh, look at there are those Wildcats. Oh, look at you guys. It looks like you're still game ready. You look great. Dang, you all look ageless.
Oh my goodness.
Now you're lying, bud.
I need you in my life more.
Right? Crazy. Look at this.
I
You
know.
talk every day?
My
know.
goodness.
We're just talking about you, Sue.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
should I say,
What,
we-
about my tumbleweed? About my
Yeah.
tumbleweed on my head? How about all that hair, everybody? Like, what?
Yeah, we were talking about the hair and the bangs. Helmets didn't even fit on the heads because there was so much hair going on.
No.
So, yeah.
I know. And you see that braid? You see the little thing hanging from
Hair.
Lisa's hair?
Yeah, the rally wrap.
Yeah, we all went down to Venice Beach before we left for Oklahoma, and sketchy people down there, but we all went down there and had our hair done, had our hair wrapped for the World Series. So that's why everybody has them, and they're all hanging out of their braid or their ponytail. I thought that was so funny. That's one of the first things. And there's a picture of Lisa. I don't know if it's up in the locker room or somewhere that I have, and her little braid thing is flying in the air as she pitches. So I was like, oh my gosh, we had so much fun doing that. It was hilarious.
That's great.
Here's
We all had the zebra scrunchies.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
Mom made, right?
Yeah.
Scrunchies are back, Debbie.
What?
I said scrunchies are back.
I know.
Yeah.
Foam visors aren't though.
No, or should they be?
Or
No,
shorts.
baby.
The shorts aren't back either. Although I love those shorts.
You'd put them in your bag, and then you had to like put a book on top of it to make it not so like mushed and sideways. You had to smash it down to make sure it was right again.
Oh my gosh, did you see Larry's hair?
He has kind of a little bit of a mullet, doesn't he?
Yeah. You have a lot going on down here.
And the short shorts.
You know, we were talking about the coaches, and I think it's a huge just kudos to all of the coaches to see how many players on both sides either are still or were in coaching at their, at one point after they graduated as well, that they loved the game so much, they loved the coaches so much that they were passionate enough with the game to go back into coaching themselves. I like seeing that and knowing, that there's so many here and on, watching on this film as well. There's so many people that went into coaching. It was great.
Well, I feel like I need to just say thank you everybody for not like leaving, because it wasn't easy all the time, right? I tell the kids right now, the Bruins, like, oh, thank you so much for just hanging in there, right? It was the tough go at times, right?
Thanks for letting me stay.
On that note, I was thinking about funny stories from a tough go at it. I remember being a freshman, first time going to Arizona, the big rivalry, we've got to get it back. And I heard about how terrible your fans were, right?
Oh my God.
Whole fraternity right there in the outfield.
Houses.
They were heckling Yvonne so bad. It must have been like the 5th inning. We kind of tuned it between innings. And I finally turned and kind of put my hand on my hip and do a little, like, shut up kind of look. Next thing I know, somebody sees me do that. Oh, they said, oh, who do we have in center field? Is that Goldilocks or one of the 7 dwarfs? And then they start heckling me, and I was like, oh, what'd I do? This is terrible. Those frat boys at Arizona were terrible.
The way that field was laid out, obviously you read that outfield was so vulnerable to that fraternity row. But I can remember outfielders coming in every time we played Arizona, and I would always be telling them, hey, just listen, you gotta close those ears down, because they are gonna heckle you like nobody's business. But they always had something funny. Something was a swimming pool. They had props. They always had something going on.
What about the guys that were on that roof across the street? Like, those were the ones that were crazy.
We had more fans up there than we did in the stands.
Oh.
Back in the old
nothing like starting your college career at, national championship team, and you're playing on the gym field of the PE department, and you have 10 people at your game.
And you took bottle caps and broken beer bottles that people would throw over the fence.
Yeah. And don't hit a foul ball, it'll go in the pool.
Right. How many foul balls did you guys lose in practice into that?
No kidding.
Well, my freshman year, the scoreboard was in left field.
It was in the field, yeah.
It was on the field, in left field.
The big poles were
it was
not underneath it to get to the fence, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know. And I just thought of a Lisa Fernandez story. It wasn't this game, obviously, but when we went to Arizona, I don't know if it was this 92 year. I don't know.
It was 92, I think.
I remember we went to Arizona and Lisa was sick. She was not feeling well. And she could not keep anything down. And she was still pitching. She would still pitch, and it was hot. It was super hot there, shocker. And she'd go into the dugout after she would pitch. She'd go into the dugout and she would eat a potato. Somebody had potatoes for her, cooked potatoes. She would eat the potatoes, and then she would go pitch and come back in the dugout and then throw up.
Then she would throw up. Yeah, she was definitely leaving herself and then go back up.
And then try to eat a little bit more, go back on the field, and just every half inning she was coming in the dugout and throwing up, and then going up back out on the field and pitching. And it was crazy. But that's like that's like the competitor that she was. She was like, it didn't matter. And I was in such awe of her that she was able to perform as well as she was, and like feeling so terrible. It was just crazy. So
Lisa and Kelly, most people know, they played together their whole life, right? From starting, I think, in 10 and under. Kirk can probably correct me on that, but they literally were on a whole different level. I can remember them preparing for Arizona. I don't think it was in 92, but they were prepping for Jenny Dalton, right? I mean, what a monster. I never take time out and just say to Debbie Day, I don't care what anybody says, Bruins have so much swagger. Like, we never got your number. Like, we really never had your number. Like, I just want to say that. Like, we never had your number. I don't care what any Bruin says. They're like, oh, we owned you. No, we didn't.
Never knew.
Thank you so much. That's so nice of you.
It's just important for you to know you were such an amazing competitor. But anyway, when I'm talking about Lisa, I think about you because your presence on the mound. And I was always so impressed with how well you managed after maybe somebody got a hit or you hit somebody's bat, depending on how you look at it. But I'll never forget, we were prepping for Jenny Dalton. They had it all set up. Yep, coach, we're good. We know how to get her out. We're gonna set up to go down and in, down and out. Perfect, great. We get there and they're throwing upstairs. And I'm like, why are they throwing upstairs? Like, it's Jenny Dalton. She's a monster. And they come in and they're like, I'll never forget this. This is the level that those two were on. Well, we feel pretty good. We can get her on the down and in, down and out. And I think the real challenge is let's get her out on her best pitch.
That's crazy. How'd that go?
Who does that?
That's risky.
Seriously, who does that? And so they're out there, they're dancing around, and they go upstairs, and Jenny Dalton hit a ball like 6.5 miles, and it went up that red brick building. I'm like, okay.
Well, that didn't work.
That didn't work.
So this is funny. Sue, watching this reminds me of you because you told me one time, you're like, God, I hate it when you guys do that. You got to stop doing that. The hand slapping in the circle.
Oh, I couldn't stand the patty cake. I wasn't a patty cake fan. Like, don't do the patty cake. Just be efficient, be relentless. Like, don't do the patty cake. Like, Sharon, you guys, very few people know Sharon. She was, Sharon is the consummate, Sharon was the consummate professional. Like, she wanted everybody to be a professional the minute they got on the softball camp, got on the softball field. And she was unflappable. And she wanted, she's like, Susie, in my perfect world, we have no fans. No fans. My perfect world is just let the kiddos out there, a couple umpires, and let the kids just go at it. Like, just no fans. We don't need fans. And I'm like, and I remember thinking, and I'm super close to.
I would be so happy to coach today. There's not going to be any fans.
Right.
Bring her out of retirement.
First COVID.
In the back of my mind, I'm thinking about how I'm super close to my family. All I could think about is like, wow, I could never imagine telling Mama E, hey, Mama E, you're going to stay home because Sharon would prefer that, because she just wanted the kids to have the game. Like, I really loved how she saw the game. Like, it was their game. You're going to prepare, but it's going to be your game. I don't want you looking in the dugout. It's your game. Prepare, have that peace of mind. And I got so much inspiration from her because she just was such a big thinker that way.
Yeah.
There was that down and in pitch there.
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming, and I was holding my breath at first base with Yvonne.
Right.
I know, trust me.
And
Down and in to Yvonne. It's coming at me.
Oh,
Right.
scary.
And they just posted, obviously, Yvonne set the record for a career record at UCLA for 11 home runs. And we're talking about it. That was with the white ball and the not technology bats. Could you imagine what she would have done with the yellow ball in this day and age with the technology on the bats?
Yeah, those are 28-ounce bats, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Logs. Yep.
Flat seams on that heavy white ball. I mean, it was a crazy time.
And we shared, I think like the first 4 hitters like shared the same bat. Just left the bat there.
We had a couple of years like that too.
Yeah, everybody
good old
did not
black
have their own
maps.
bat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
At
those
least
are
they
the-
had their presence on the mound.
Sue, it's funny to hear you say, like, Sharon and the professionalism and how successful you guys were. And as professional as Coach was, it's interesting to see how successful we were when he wanted you to do things properly and have a seriousness about the game, but he also allowed us to relax and have fun because it was a game, and the hand slapping was definitely part of that. I mean, our outfield used to have hand slapping maneuvers where we would whack each other in the face and toss our gloves. And our outfielder, Lisa Geis, actually sprained her ankle and was out for a couple of games because we tossed our gloves. She stepped on it, of course, and twisted her ankle and sprained it. But, it's funny to see the different dynamics of the coaching philosophies and how successful both of them were.
Yeah, our kids didn't have any fun. I didn't give them any.
I feel like we had a combination. I mean, Sarah, Sharon was more serious.
That combination.
You were like the, yeah.
We
Sure.
had,
That's
we had
the
a lot
value of
fun.
assistant coaches, right?
Yeah.
Like I
Right.
think of Larry as our assistant coach for so long, and you know the celebrations that we had when coach had to be out of town and Larry would run practice because we knew we could actually take a breath and relax a little bit, and Bill just running that outfield and doing such a good job. And even in 91 we had Lisa Bernstein with us, and we both programs have just had, I mean, even to now, look at the coaching staffs that everyone has put together. It's amazing.
I have so many Mike Candrea stories. But you're not showing enough games. You're not showing enough games. I think the thing, well, first of all, did you happen to see his shorts that he was just,
I know.
he's got like Daisy Dukes on. Mike Candrea never, ever, he never let the game get in the way of the friendship. I'll always admire that about him. I would give up my firstborn to beat him. But I mean, he never let the game get in the way. And I know he felt the same way. He'd do anything to beat the Bruins. But one of my favorite stories about Mike was we were on the national team together. We were getting ready to prepare for the Olympic. Oh, that's so nice. The way she dropped back on that. Yeah, that was beautiful.
That was a great play by Steph Stanley.
Yeah. And we checked in the hotel. He and I were site directors, and I was super excited because at that point, I had never had any interaction with him, right? I was just literally giving my right arm to try to beat his Wildcats, right? And we sat down and had this amazing dinner. Long story short, I go to bed. I don't really feel that great. Wake up at like 2 a.m. and I had the worst case of, oh man, nice.
Those are shorts.
He was able to bend over in those things, right? I get super, super bad food poisoning to the point where I wasn't sure I have to go to the hospital. He comes, checks on me, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to go. I'm like completely been vomiting all night. He calls down the front desk and has them check on me like every 3 hours. And then my phone rings 3 times that day. He called his wife, Sue, and had Sue checking on me. Like, who does that, right? I mean, it's just, that's the kind of guy he was to me. I mean, I've got so many stories like that where we always took care of each other, you know?
Yeah.
He's a good man.
That's great. Oh
I have another funny story. We were in the finals. This was in 90. Let's see, I got to pull it up. This was in 97.
Yeah.
And that time before the game starts, there's a little bit of energy and tension, and the umpire pulls the coaches together. And I noticed that my mom and dad were always in the stands. I noticed my mom and dad aren't there. We meet at home plate. The umpire is super nervous, like super nervous. And she's got the lineup card, and she's like, all right, this is going to be the pregame and the timeouts at the third game. And I'm looking at Mike like, oh my goodness, we've got a new one here, right? And Mike says, are you all right? And I said, not really. My parents aren't here. I don't know where that was. I got distracted.
Foul ball.
My parents aren't here, and I'm worried. And Mike says, okay, well, why don't we just kill some time here and we'll wait for him? I'm like, right now, we're going to just kill time? The umpire's like looking at both of us. You've got ESPN's going up there. ESPN comes over and they're like, we got 2 minutes to game time. Mike's like, we can just go ahead and just buy time. And now we're having chat. We're having just a fast chat, waiting for my dad to come. 5 minutes later, my dad had gone into the hospital, but he was okay. Goes and sits down. Mike walks over to the fence and he goes, hey, you're late for the game. And he turns around. And I remember feeling so good in that moment. I was like, I love this game. I love the people in the game. And then the Wildcats proceeded to kick our ass. Mercy rule. So I'm like, I'm not going to fall for that anymore.
Oh, what a great story.
Hey, speaking, obviously we're talking about this rivalry and there was consecutive years, like 10 consecutive years where it was UCLA or Arizona winning. What do you guys, each of you guys think that this rivalry did for changing the game and the fans? What is some of your perspective and do you think about?
Well, I think everybody works to get to this point that everybody knows UCLA, Arizona. And now there's more teams that want to become that, and schools that have been putting in lots of money to be able to fulfill that dream at their own school. But, you know, UCLA, Arizona, I mean, you know, anybody in our era will talk about it and they just go, hey, they had some of the best teams, best players, best coaches in the game, and how fun was that competition? And so, I mean, everybody, I think it's the thing that everybody reaches towards. They want to be UCLA, Arizona, whether it's now Oklahoma and Alabama and Tennessee and UCLA still, obviously, Florida State. But it's something that I think, you know, young kids, I hear it even today when I'm coaching and I'm at a community college, like, wow, you played at UCLA. You were sort of that, you know, Lisa Fernandez. You played with Kelly Inouye Perez and, you know, against Mike Candrea and Sue Inquist and just all those names. Everybody still knows them. And it's something really special to be a part of.
That's really so cool to hear too. And I think one of the things that I think about is I think about how the game got escalated in terms of the standard got raised between how they made each other better, you know, those teams, what we were all a part of. But it just kept raising the bar to what the game and how the game should be played. And it wasn't that other people weren't capable or good talent. I feel like those two teams, though, being in the same conference really escalated the level of the play and set a new standard that obviously today is still being strived for. But I think, what are some other thoughts, I mean, to be a part of that growing up? You guys were in it, but looking back now and looking where the game is, what's that like?
I personally, I feel proud to have been a part of it. I mean, we essentially started it, right? It started in 91 and then throughout the entire time, you know, 92 to 95, and then it carried on, and it was so incredible and it was so intense when we played Arizona. And like we talked about earlier, there wasn't a person that stepped into the box you didn't have to worry about either, you know, getting on base, hitting a home run. I mean, the entire lineup was just so incredible. And then the pitching from Debbie to Susie to you name it. I mean, it was just so incredibly intense. It was fun and it was such a challenge. And when I look back at my career, when I look back at not playing softball anymore, that's what I miss. I miss those moments and that level of intensity. And to say that I was a part of it it's incredible. I feel very proud.
I like looking
I think it's
back.
funny because a lot of us played each other all growing up. I mean,
Right.
I always joke that I played against Lisa before either of us were pitchers. She was a third baseman. I was a shortstop when we were younger. And so we all knew each other in that way. So going to college, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've pitched against most of those girls in that lineup. And so you had to bring your A game all the time, and you were excited to play UCLA. And there were certainly great other programs. I mean, Cal had Michelle Granger, and there were so much good talent in our conference. But you knew you were going to battle against UCLA 1 through 9 hitters and deep on the bench and great pitching. And back then, you know, these 1-0 games it was the first mistake. And to play a game where it's so intense, and I think that's one of the things with the bats and the balls now, that's just different, right? One swing changes the game, and, you know, minus this game, there weren't that many home runs. So, you know, is that foreshadowing? Should I not have said
Well,
that?
there weren't as many back then, right?
Well,
No, you really had to earn a home run back then, I'll tell you.
yeah.
The other thing that, just from a historic perspective, you know, in the 80s, we felt very good about how we were really playing really successful softball. And when Arizona came into the space, you know, it was the first program that you really felt like they weren't going to crack the door. And when you have two teams that truly feel like they're not going to crack the door, and there is all these other teams, like try to think about the other teams. Historically, it's kind of hard. You can really just think about the 90s as Arizona and UCLA. And when you think about how sports have ascended during their growth, when you have two teams that love to compete and hate each other, that elevates the sport overall. And then also was a perfect storm in the sense that this was also where ESPN was going full time on the games being played live. That started too. So that created another wave of exposure. I mean, it's a great story overall.
I feel like it was like the Pac-10, and then I don't really remember a lot of other teams. Like I remember other teams coming to the World Series, but it was like, you know, everything, all the
Because we had to let them in.
Yeah.
It was more West Coast. There wasn't the SEC Bulls. I mean, it was Long Beach State. It was
Fullerton.
Fresno State. It was Fullerton. You know.
Yeah, but the ones
Southern California had the softball, and so that's what the competition was.
The other thing that was fun to look back on, I remember when Arizona elevated and started being very competitive. Arizona gets the credit for bringing the short game. I don't know if you talked about this before, but they brought the short game to the game of softball to the point where you introduced a whole nother level of player that could now play the game. And I think that was something that people don't remember, right? They don't remember, they probably weren't around, but just imagine adding a dimension to a sport. And, you know, I think pretty much it was Larry Ray that kind of introduced that, if I remember correctly.
And I think it totally separated baseball from softball. I mean, if you say if you're a softball fan, you know what a slapper is, you know, and it makes the game so that much different. And now it's like night and day. They're very different sports now because of the short game and the speed. And here she comes.
We were talking about in the beginning, obviously Kathy and Amy and Jamie all really kind of were at the epitome of just being able to really do so much with their speed. And they had all kinds of tools, and they could do so much. And it really set the table then for all the big power hitters coming after.
Yeah. Well, and being one of the first ones to really bring that to the game, and for me being a natural lefty was even more fun. And I know Amy was able to swing away later very successfully. But you know, if you stand in the box exactly right, and they think you're slapping and you turn, and I got plenty of triples just because I popped a little blooper over the right fielder's head and I just kept going. And so it was really fun to introduce it where defenses had no idea what you were doing, how to play you or anything. I loved that part of being a slapper.
Well, they knew where to play me, so I couldn't say that I was
as you say, from second base, right?
Right.
I just try to put the ball on the ground and run like hell, you know what I'm saying?
Well, even in this game, you know, Amy went 3 for 3, and I think Kathy, you had 2 hits, 2 bunt singles or 2 hits in the infield. So it was obviously, and everyone knew that you guys were going to be short gaming. It wasn't like it was, a surprise. And even when the defense was played in, the ability to deaden that ball and that white ball was really pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, speed kills, and Arizona took that to another level. And obviously Kathy was able to do the same thing, and it just gave each one of our schools a huge advantage.
Yeah, this was an intense at bat here, obviously.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I'm nervous now.
And obviously Lisa's on the mound to tie ball game, and Debbie, you pitched her amazing in this at bat.
Hey.
I wanted to score so badly. I was shocked when I didn't.
And Lisa did hit the ball fairly hard, but she hit it right where you set her up to hit it.
It's good pitching.
Right.
Really good pitching.
Susie had a good game.
I have to say with the white ball, being an outfielder and not getting a lot of action out there, you turn into a fan. And I remember being such a fan. Like of course you're playing, but you're out there just watching everything unfold. And as a center fielder, I have the best seat in the house. I see every single pitch. I see where it's going. It was the best feeling ever to just kind of, I was just watching, I was just in awe, and I have the best landscape. I have the best view of anybody. I loved it.
Well, and you had two amazing pitchers that were playing. Obviously, Susie Parr with the up and the down, and Debbie in and out. To really see the movement from center field is pretty.
On that note, I would always tell the left and right fielder where the pitches were going. Did you ever do that, Jamie?
All the time.
Yeah.
All
so
the time.
You're like, you kind of call their name, and I'm like, oh, I better make sure I'm not too loud. They're gonna catch on to that.
Right.
Give it away. That'd be terrible.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to my daughter as I was watching this game, and she's like, Mom, you guys didn't get that many balls. I mean, it must have been hard sitting there and waiting and being ready when you finally did get a ball. And I said, that's why, it was intense. I mean, you couldn't let down because you never knew when you might get a ball. It wasn't often, but you had to be ready when they came.
It would be interesting to see how bored the defense would be if we went back to this ball just for a game. They've had all this hard ball, the hard bats. They would probably be like, I don't know if I like this sport. You had to really love the sport to play with this ball, that's for sure.
I mean,
And the
it
bat.
was white, but it didn't have the greatest seams.
It didn't.
Right. So it was not always a great ball to throw.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Well,
Why do you think we wore white pants?
I think the other thing too is interesting is obviously this time we were at 43 feet, but we were playing with a white ball, this white ball, and we were at 40 feet back about 7 years earlier than this. And
no, my freshman year we played, I want to say 40 feet.
Was it?
That was in 90. Yeah. It's crazy.
It was definitely a different time.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, I can't imagine Debbie at 40 feet. Sorry.
Thanks.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story since we're kind of here at this moment. I got to watch Debbie pitch a lot at 46 feet in baseball. And for Debbie to compete up until just not that long ago and compete at a very high level, it was amazing to watch the movement on her pitch at 46 feet. Because she
That's
got
amazing.
Thanks. I was one of those people who I just couldn't stop playing. I stopped 4 years ago. I played men's fast pitch for 20 years after college, and I know
he's the one that pulled me out of retirement. So
I dragged Kirk back in.
I pulled me out of retirement. I'm still playing now. Debbie retired, but she pulled me back into it, and I'll be forever grateful. But to watch Debbie compete at the men's level was truly just really impressive.
That's nice.
That'd be fun to see.
Thank you.
Well, she was a winner. Why wouldn't they want her? It's like.
Thanks. You guys are sweet.
Jojo.
But you wouldn't have said that 28 years ago.
Time allows.
I would have thought it. I would never have said it.
Since we're talking about pitching, I do think it's only fair when we talk about pitching in Arizona that we add Susie Parra in the mix here because she was
great.
Well. She would come in so down and in and be scary. Oh, I remember being very scary.
And a great changeup. She had that great down changeup.
She also had that extremely intense look like you did.
Yeah.
It's funny because this year, 92, our entire staff was just Susie and I. And Coach probably stressed about it a little bit. He never told us, but we were so complimentary to each other, just, our different looks and our different, what we threw, what we specialized in, and, just every other game. And it was really just a true, fantastic, equal battery. I love watching Susie throw. I love playing first base when Susie threw. And throwing to Jody was just, icing on the cake.
Yeah, speaking of Jody, obviously we just saw Jody hitting here, but was Jody also Susie's catcher? Did she catch both of you guys?
Yeah, Jody caught everything. Yeah.
And that would be amazing because obviously she had two very different pitchers with different skills. To be able to call games like that says a lot to obviously Jody's background and her her intellect, obviously, as a catcher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys talk a little bit about Susie, what she threw, what was her best pitch, what was like hitting off of her? For those of us that didn't get to see Susie play, and we won't see her in this game, I'm curious as to what it was like to actually hit off of her or be on her team.
Susie was very intimidating. Being in the circle, she had this look on about her that just, yeah, it was crazy. And she threw hard, you know, she had a really good changeup. She had a really good rise ball. But she just her presence. I mean, her and Debbie both, but they just had this presence in the circle. And I think that's pretty much, you know, what all you pitchers, that the great pitchers have, is they have a presence in the circle, and they have this intensity that, you know, they're coming after you with everything they got. And so, but you know, I got to play with Susie after in women's ball, and that was a lot more fun than facing her.
Totally is.
I remember about the pitchers with Susie and Debbie. I mean, they hit their spots. I mean, they don't miss, and that's the thing. They can throw the pitches, they can locate, and they're smart. They know their batters. And so that's why it was such a challenge every time we faced them, was because you're not going to get the pitch you want to hit, and they're out thinking you. And so, just how smart they were, that was the biggest challenge. Not to mention they had great skills, great pitches, but just they you know, they were very thoughtful in what they decided to throw to each batter.
And
Susie was super chill. I mean, she was just very calm and very calming. So like when she was on the mound, you kind of get that air about her, the confidence and the calming. And it was you knew good things were happening when Susie was on the mound. And there was a game we played one time in a tournament, and she said, "You guys, the wind's at my back, and I don't have a lot right now, so just stick with me." And it was like we won 6-5 or something like that. But she was just very calming, and she was just like a steel demeanor about her. She was very stoic and it just gave you confidence.
I was always impressed with the confidence that she had and the presence that she had on the mound. She had a great poker face, even coming in as a freshman, facing all of these fantastic hitters, and she is, you know, thrown right in there. Always just, you never knew what she was thinking. And sometimes she may have had that look like she didn't really care, like being out there, but you knew the intensity is there and that she was always going to work hard to get you out. I don't think she ever took a break on any single pitch. I think she was super laser focused every single pitch, it seems like, and probably beat a lot of batters, got a lot of batters out before they even got in the box.
I think the other thing she did really well was, you know, when you set up for your opponent, your opposing pitcher, and you're going to set up to a certain zone, she never had that bink, bink, bink. It was always a mix, and she hit her spots like no other. And you know, back here, we were teaching more of a flatter swing. If you remember, if you look at all these swings, they're so flat. So anytime you're going down and in, she'd hit that spot, and we literally were like, it's going to be coming down and in, and we could not catch up with it. And I just thought when I look back at her, both of you, we never really got your number. And I'm not saying we got everybody's number, but we really had a plan that should work. And we talk about it all the time. I'm like, yeah, we never got their numbers. We really didn't.
Susie's ball, Susie had such a heavy ball when she
Yeah.
So she had that heavy down ball, and then she would throw the off-speed drop, which was her changeup, and it would just die off the table. And that was such a deadly combination. And then she had this incredible rise ball. The reason why her rise ball was so good, though, was that you were so defending that drop ball, that heavy pitch, that when she would bring the rise ball, you'd be like, oh, no, I'm totally screwed. You know, so I think really for her, when I think of her, it was really the two planes, the up and the down, that she did so well, that really just made her so tough. Like I said, which was really kind of the different than Debbie. Debbie was very much the in and the out with speed, and Susie was the up and the down. So to prepare for a weekend as a batting practice pitcher trying to prepare to play Arizona,
Right. You
Like,
pitched to us.
I'm like, okay, flip the coin. Who's throwing? Because it's completely different the way I would throw before the game. You know what I mean? How I would try and throw.
You
So-
guys, I think we're 3 batters away from this game.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this has been so lovely and warm and fuzzy. Anybody want to just end this now while it's a tie? No.
Go.
Talk
Howard's
about the hair. I had a lot of hair too.
I was just gonna say, look at Kirko's hair.
That's
good.
That's a lot of hair.
I would pay
there.
millions for that hair again.
Yeah, right. That's good beach hair. Oh, I touched the ball.
I'm glad I could do that for you.
I wanted to ask you guys, I've been meaning to ask, did you get green paint on your cleats like we did on ours from them spray painting the grass?
I think I did. Yeah. Yeah, I used to have green.
All the outfielders always had green
Outfield.
cleats.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't remember that, but that's why.
It was an outfield thing. That's because they had to paint the grass because it was either waterlogged or from all the rain or.
Oh my gosh.
So they painted it green. I can remember that. And getting it out of the uniforms was what was tricky.
Yeah.
Well, the infield was a sandbox, so we were
Yeah.
sad if you guys were dealing with the green paint.
Yeah, a lot different than the perfect fields today, right?
Oh,
The
it's amazing, the difference.
bad hops and everything.
I mean, look at the backstop. It's a fence.
They
you know.
just stopped. They just
on the hill.
did a huge renovation there in Oklahoma City and put on a second tier. And
really?
if you've seen it, and they just laid new sod for. I mean, it's really pretty amazing.
That's
Amazing.
awesome.
To see what they've done. Obviously, we won't get a chance to see it this year because there's no championship. But it truly is going to be unbelievable when we see it because it's tiers. It's just like a major league stadium.
I like that it's at the same field from way back then. I mean, I remember walking in and I had never seen so many people at a softball game. I mean, I was amazed by the number. I don't know how many people there were, probably like 3,000. Now they have 10, 15? I don't even know how many they have.
I don't either. Yeah.
Here comes Brewster.
Oh,
Here it comes, Debbie. Sorry.
Sorry, Deb.
Debbie, go off.
Sorry, not
I
sorry.
want to know what pitch it was. I don't know what. I can't.
That-
I think it was an inside rise ball.
It
I
was
make the
not
joke.
bad.
I make the joke to my players all the time about, not, don't worry about throwing a fat pitch unless it's the bottom of the 7th in the national championship game.
Oh, it's up and in. Up and in. It was a good pitch, though. It was a good pitch.
You look
I thought it
closely.
was fat.
She didn't get all of it either.
She got it, and more power to her. One person's devastation is another person's victory, and that's sport. But I got to tell you guys, for years, there was not a day I didn't think about that. It was devastating. And I will also offer that Sue Enquist at the end of that game pulled me aside. We'd never spoken, and said some really kind things to me in that moment. And I will never forget that.
Oh.
Tearing up.
mm.
That's painful to
It's so
watch.
fun. It's so fun to be here and just be able to tell you what a competitor you were. I mean,
Thanks.
your competitive greatness is unmatched, really.
Thank
And
you.
great leadership too, Debbie, on the field. Great leadership.
Thanks, Jamie. Thank
I,
you so much. We don't have to watch it again, do we? Gosh. It's been so fun until that one pitch.
We're going to watch 93 next.
Oh.
Oh, I'm heading out.
Yeah, all there.
I was talking to Leah, Brian, and Miko today, and she was like, "Are we going to do 93?"
Okay, let's talk about Leah. I mean, when she came up in that 93 season, and it was bottom of the 7th, and Amy, were you on second? I don't know who it was. Leah came up, and I'm like, the ball is coming to me. She was so clutch. You talk about a clutch hitter. She was it. I mean, all of you guys were, but
Like the all-time greatest performer that I can't think of any.
Yeah.
I mean,
That year,
hands
she only struck out 6 times.
I mean, and sure enough, she hit it to me, and you guys wound up winning.
yeah, and that was a reverse of this game because that was
Yeah.
the run in the first inning.
That was very first.
And
That
then
was the
played
first inning.
7 innings. That was the entire offense was in the first inning.
Mhm, mhm,
And first, the opposite of this game where there was no offense until the very last inning. But
mhm.
Couldn't wait to get the game over. Once we scored, I'm like, okay, let's go, let's finish.
Listen, nobody wanted you to win in 93 more than me. to make up for losing the game for us in 92.
Oh my.
Losing the game. Come on.
Was
It
not
was
your
a good
fault.
game.
Did you have a 3-hitter going into the 7th? I mean,
I will say this is that, as I said earlier, Debbie and Lisa, probably two of the most intense pitchers that I've ever coached and been around, and two of the all-time greats when it comes to that competitive greatness side. And this is a sad thing, but I'm just going to say how you and Lisa both handled your very senior years, losing your senior years, was so hard for both of you guys, but yet at the end of the day, it never will ever define who you are, because there's so many other great things that you did for your teammates during that time, before that time. But
That's why Kirk's the best, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
That's why we love Kirko.
Thank you so much.
But it's so
Thank you.
ironic that both of you, two of the greatest ever, lost your senior games on championship. And
don't rub it in, Kirko.
Huh? What?
I said, don't rub it in. Come on.
But what
It's out there now.
Chris.
that it will never define you. That single game will never define you.
Thank you.
So much of what you did. So
Thank you so much.
Same for Lisa. That game will never define her.
Oh, yeah.
Of course not. It's a team sport. We all
Yeah.
participated. The hitters could have hit more. I mean, it's never just one pitch. So please don't do that.
It is a tough game. It puts a lot of pressure on everybody. I say it's one of the hardest games. I played a lot of sports, and really you only have a certain time to shine, and you have that moment when the balls hit you or that at bat. And, it's a tough game because you don't get the ball back like in basketball or soccer or so many of these other sports, especially individual sports. It's tough. And so, I look back on it and I go, oh, how wonderful, how exciting this was, but how nerve-wracking and intense it all was. And you love it, but you go, okay, well, I'm glad I'm coaching now.
So speaking of looking back, so we'll round it all up, and I would just love for each and every one of you to speak to the players that are in the game today, and looking back, if what you know now, what you could say to them, you wish you would have known then. So we'll just go around. We're on Brady Bunch now style. So we'll start. We'll start with Jamie. What would you say to the current student athletes? What would your advice be?
I think my advice would probably be to just continue to remember why you play the game. It's a game, it's fun, and try to never lose the passion for it. Most of these kids have been playing since they were 6 years old. So somehow if they can find that little girl or why they play and take that to the field, they might never lose that desire and that funness out of it. That's what I always loved about it, because it was a game. I couldn't wait till game day.
Christy?
Yeah, it's funny. I was walking with my daughter. We did some hitting today, in fact, and she's like, Mom, do you wish that you were doing this again? I said, yeah, but the one piece of advice I would give you is to be more relaxed, enjoy it. You're a great hitter, and everything you do, you've worked so hard for, and sometimes you put so much pressure on yourself that it'd just be nice to go, hey, kind of having that silent confidence and do what you do best in those times, because to be able to be relaxed at that elite level would just, could elevate everybody's game. But that was the one piece of advice that I gave her. Be you, play your game, don't over try, just do what you always do. And that's the piece of advice that I'd give.
Nicole?
I would say just enjoy the journey of it all. I find that kids these days, with just coaching, travel ball in high school, they have this goal of getting to commit somewhere, and then they're kind of like, oh yay, I committed, and then that's kind of almost like the end of their journey. I'm like, your journey's not over. The work just started. What are you talking about? Now you gotta keep going and working hard, and every day you got to just try to be better. Do something to make yourself better today than you were yesterday, whether it's, running, or whether it's watching a motivational speech, or whether it's hitting in the cage, or whatever it is. Just enjoy the journey and try to get better every day. And there's no end result. Just try to be better.
Kathy?
Well, I always say practice makes perfect, right? So I really think that what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So if, say, you're in a slump, or you put in the extra time and it will pay off. And like everybody else is saying, I mean, definitely enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride. But I really think that, you will, what you put in is what you'll get out of it. So.
Amy?
That's a lot like what I was going to say, Kathy, too, is, it's really easy to work on the things that you're good at. It's not so easy and fun to work in the things that you aren't good at. And that's how you become a better, more rounded player. I mean, everyone's got numbers on you, and they've got stats on you and what they're going to go after. And, you have to work on the things that you don't necessarily love to do. And practice isn't just, putting your time in. It actually has to be counting. Make the time count when you're out there, and just enjoy it, because it's such a great time of your life. And you're so lucky to be able to have the ability to play this game, and to be with the people and that you're with and represent your university. And it's really special. And you look back, and I know I can speak for everybody, that's one of the best times of my life. And I'm super proud to be a part of this whole group. And it's people still, 48 years old, and people still remember who I am. I think I'm amazed by that.
Well, you were pretty good.
That's because you're on base all the time.
Right. You know what? I just want to add real quick to Amy's too. One thing I will say is cherish who you represent. I'll never forget putting the UCLA jersey on for the first and last time. I'll get teary-eyed right now thinking about it. It's such an honor to not only, have gone to UCLA, but to play and be a part of our Bruin bubble. And I think really cherishing the friendships that you make along the way and that you have thereafter, that's something else I would definitely add to the mix.
Thanks, Kathy. Kirko?
Yeah, I think we were talking about it earlier. It's an individual sport disguised as a team sport, and that's one of the great things about our game. So take that pride in your individual skills so that you're prepared to be the one, but never forget and never stop enjoying that you're part of a team, and that you're not alone. So it's the yin and yang of baseball and softball. It's an individual sport. You're tested as an individual, but you are always competing with a teammate.
Great, thanks. Debbie?
You guys all said it so well, and I agree with every single thing you said, especially the be your personal best at all times and the pride of wearing that uniform. I tell my girls all the time, the culture now with kids, they want to change into their leggings and their little t-shirts right after games. And I'm like, I would have slept in my Arizona uniform if I could have. I never wanted to take it off. The only other thing is, I hope that I was always a good teammate. Being a good teammate is one of the best attributes I think you can bring to a team. That includes challenging yourself to be the very best, but being able to let your teammates know that you believe in them. And, whether it's, hey, Jamie, she's coming to you right here, or Amy, I got you on the bunt, whatever the case may be, but just instilling that in my teammates and being able to appreciate all that every person on your team brings. I think that's something both of our programs did really, really well, was every single person on every team feels and felt valuable. And I think that's what makes great teams, from the starting pitcher to the 4-hitter to the pinch runner in the 7th inning who brings in the winning run.
Coach?
Debbie, that was well said. I would say to that, first of all, that freshman, I would say you have committed to this game for 10 or 12 years, and the game doesn't know how old you are. You're a veteran of 10 or 12 years. I'd also say I understand that your world is different than many people before you, that you didn't get to just free play, that everyone has been talking about a scholarship your whole life, and now the whole world's watching your every move. And I would say people are imperfect, but the game is perfect. And let it be your 2-hour escape every day in this crazy world. There's just instability everywhere, but the game is perfect. And it's 60 feet turn left. It's 24 inches on that mound. That will not change. That could be your reprieve. And Go out there and go for it. Because at the end of the day, they don't judge whether you got the home run. They just judge whether you went for it. And I think that's an important thing. And it can allow those student athletes today to exhale. The game is perfect, and go out there and give it your all.
Sue, did you say 2 hours? Because you haven't been to Coach Kendra's practices yet.
Yeah, we're under Sharon Backus. Sharon Backus practices were like an hour and 5 minutes.
Hour 15.
You know what? On that note, before we hang up, so Amy, you talked about when Kendra left, you'd be like, "Woohoo! Ray's taking over." It was the opposite for us. We're like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I own that. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. When Sue would go to the bathroom at the end of practice, Sharon would be like, "You guys, hurry up. Let's do your sprints really quick. Sprints the ball back." And then Sue would walk out and, "Let's go." We're like, no, Sharon would be like, "No, we're already done running." We're like, "Yeah."
Sharon and I were perfect yin and yang. I got so much inspiration, and I am so indebted to her. She built the blueprint. Remember, I was at UCLA before Sharon Backus got there. A lot of people don't know this. I played on a team that wore the men's track team practice t-shirts for game uniforms. And Sharon Backus came in and said, game doesn't know. Game doesn't know we don't have uniforms. And she set the standard and the blueprint for us. And so all of us are indebted to Sharon. She really was the architect.
Absolutely.
Thank you all, Kirk, Jamie, Christy, Nicole, Kathy, Amy, Debbie, Sue. It's weird to call you Sue, Coach. Thank you all so much for joining us on the first ever roundtable. I could not think of a better crew. I had a blast just listening to all your stories, and growing up as a softball player, it's just really special that you all were a part of our game, that you were pioneers, that you're strong women, and that you have agreed to just come on here and share your stories and make sure that the younger generation understands where it all started. And I'm just so thankful that we got to do this together. Thanks for watching the game. Thanks for providing great insight. And I just wish you all the best. I hope you're healthy and happy. If anybody has any closing comments, you're more than welcome to throw them out. Anybody?
Bear down, Arizona.
I love all you guys. I
Love you guys too, but go Cats.
Thank you for being here.
No, leave.
It's great to see everybody.
It's all nice until
Yeah,
that's
thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
This was great.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.